This home here, we grew up on the lake, and so I did a lot of fishing, a lot of hunting, and then, played hockey during high school. Senior year, I led the team in penalty minutes as a goalie.
I love that picture.
It wasn't ever a thought or even, in my mind of someday I'm going to be addicted to fentanyl. When I got into boxing, I took first in the state, 3 years in a row. And, I started training at a national level. There was one night where we were doing some weird stuff like grappling in the garage, and I had twisted around and landed upside down on my shoulder on the concrete. Basically, I had separated the cartilage and the nerves, the nerves that connect your shoulder. And so I got prescribed Vicodin. There was, that time where I was, I took a few extra, and I felt the first opiate high I ever had. It feels like an emotional warm blanket, like you're being covered in just a euphoria of it's like a dopamine flush. It was oh, I found the answer. I thought I figured it out. I've got this now. As long as I have this, I'll feel fine. Eventually, my doctor cut me off from those meds, and I had to find, a new way to get a hug, to feel happy again. I would go to the streets to get the medication I needed. And so I had full access to the Oxycontins when they first came out. And this is where my addiction escalated.
Do you remember the one night when I picked you up? It was at the hospital, the U of M on the West Bank side, that high. Do you remember this night? And I picked you up. You had been wandering the subways all night long.
Yeah, I do.
And you were in bad shape.
Yeah.
Bad shape.
That was when I was out there living on the streets, and I had been up for days.
Yep.
And I just wanted a place to sleep. I just couldn't even find a place to sleep.
That's when I've really seen, how desperate he was.
Yeah. I started learning how to snort Oxycontin. And then pretty soon, that was my go-to was heroin. And, I was snorting heroin. Eventually, I became so toxic that I was stealing, I was, trying to make money however I could. The worst day of my life, I took my daughter out to a restaurant. With me on my person, I had drugs with me, and I was actively using. And I went into the bathroom and I overdosed. And my own daughter had to witness that. I woke up on my back surrounded by paramedics and, police. And my first thought was, oh my God, what have I done? What have I done? It doesn't ever happen to you until it does. I had to learn to look myself in the mirror and say, look, you did this. You put yourself here. Now you get yourself out. I went through sober living at Meraki and went through outpatient treatment center, and then I finished treatment and started, working again. The important part is to not do it alone. Having a good community is important, because when we have those days where the load is just too heavy. Coming up on 5 years clean, things are a lot different now. Just the beginning of this year, I kind of made a leap of faith and started my own general contracting company. I mean, I get to see my daughter, whenever she's not hanging out with her teenage friends and stuff, but I have a lot more to lose now and a lot more to live for than I did before.